For those of you who are new to the channel, this is an entertainment channel. A lot of the things I say may and will offend you. It's going to happen. It happens usually every podcast. So please don't take everything too seriously. Buckle up. Outcast Haven Podcast starts now. I guess I had to start with that just because so many people get upset over stuff, like trying to start rivalries, having fun. Just relax. Don't take anything too seriously. We're having fun. I'm going to continue to do the same shenanigans. Hope you enjoy it.
I mean, to be fair, for every person who complains about it, there's somebody who encourages it. So, yeah.
A lot of encouragement.
Yeah.
So
I will
still be me.
Yeah. I will say caveat, and if you don't know what we're talking about, then that's fine. But just a PSA, I suppose, is that we communicate amongst ourselves, like the guys here, and we kind of know how we feel about stuff. So when Jason's spouting off and just whatever, getting really upset about something, it's like, I know him. I personally know him well enough, and like, or if it's me going off or whatever, these guys know, like, we don't actually have like hatred in our hearts or like think that they're piles of humans. There's a couple that are, but like that's not always the case, right? So for the most part, we try to catch that, but every once in a while it'll sneak by that we're coming off as, I don't know, just dicks for no reason, when in reality we're just shooting.
Actually, oh man, do I just tell the story using full names because it's so good?
I don't know what story.
I guess I don't know about full names. That's become like the thing, right?
Well, I mean,
let's just not use
the person.
Names. Just say it. That's
yeah.
fine. Just tell the story.
All right. So, oh, this is so classic. So, I met Bronson, right? Bronson's an amazing guy. We talked day one. Day two, I see him. I go up and I pop his bag. And he's talking to somebody that we're not exactly the biggest fans on, that they might do market talk. And so Bronson knows this. You know, we all have our stuff. I tell Bronson a lot of stuff, what's going on. You know, we communicate. And so Bronson turns around, and we're just going to call this person Billy. Okay. And he goes, "Hey, Jason, this is Billy. Billy, this is Jason." And I am going to give Billy a lot of credit because he cracked me up just as much as Bronson introducing us. He goes, "Yeah, I know who you are." Yeah. So I go to Bronson afterwards. I'm like, "You son of a bitch. You knew exactly what you're doing." And he's got this grin on his face. He's like, "What? What do you mean? What? Yep, there was an issue. What? I didn't know anything. I just wanted to introduce you. You know, we were talking." So
That's funny.
Billy was an awesome sport about that. So I'm gonna give him a lot of credit because that was funny. That interaction just made me laugh a lot. So even when we disagree on things and the way they do certain things, still can have fun. So in levity, and Bronson just getting a kick out of it, just laughing to himself the whole time doing it. So that was awesome. So that was amazing.
That
touche, Bronson. Touche.
You son of a bitch, you got him. No, I like that's something that I think is worth pointing out, is like, we will take hot takes, hard stances, like, because it's just sort of the personalities that exist here, right? But like, we don't need white knights. And I think I actually commented that. That was me. If you saw like the response to your comment, I was like, no white knights needed here. We're cool. Like, the Arsenal Pass guys are super solid players and good dudes. Like, you and your white steed can ride off to Allville.
Well, and that's why I wanted to start a rivalry with them. I don't want to start a rivalry with people that aren't very good at the game. You start a rivalry with somebody that's good. That's what makes a good rivalry. You know,
well, if I gotta, it helps if you can say the word too.
Yeah, I can't say the word, so it doesn't even matter.
No, so I want to hear about Vegas. I want to hear about it.
Yeah, so I'm going to call this the calling, the good, the bad, and the ugly. There really was no ugly. There really wasn't much bad. It was
No.
just mostly good. But I'm just going to give you my takes, things that I want to see, and we'll just pass it around. So, two things right off the bat. Number one, it was amazing. Huge success, 100% success. I'm going to put that right out there. So, regardless of what I say next, it was 100% success. So, let's go with like the semi bad. The prize wall was, and maybe this is because we had Star Wars Destiny Worlds and we had one of the most amazing prize walls you could ever have. Prize wall was 100% completely disappointment. Like, the only things they had, I had to find a way to ship them back home because there's no way I'm going to carry them around, because either I get like a 4x5 huge cardboard card that I got to figure out how to ship home or carry around like an idiot through the airport, or I got to roll up an uncut sheet. Uncut sheets are super cool.
Yeah.
I just rather have something that I could put in my deck box, like a sweet alt art or, you know, stuff like that.
Mhm.
And then the rest of the prizes were like stuff I could get anywhere, like cards for the game or binders in storage containers, just stuff that like I dropped on both my side events just because I was uninterested in the prize tickets. I just didn't care. I was like, whatever. I went. I was so tired by the time. So the other thing is 90% of the judges were amazing, but man, there was a couple complete douchebags. Just wanted that power of the judge. I'm going to tell you right now, I about lost my shit. I'm tired. It's day 2, the top 64. I just made a huge error by leaving Mage Master boots in my deck, causing me to lose a game. And then I just dropped out of the whole damn thing. I was so pissed at myself. I just literally just reported the loss and dropped. So we're sitting on the very edge table, and there's little blue lines. If you guys are done playing, you need to get outside the blue lines. Those blue lines, there's little tape. Literally, I had to move 6 inches. You got to get outside the blue lines. You get outside them. Don't stand there. I was like, dude, get the out of, like, what are you doing? Like, you're serving no purpose. Nobody was even within 2-3 tables of playing with us. We were literally just sitting there, and I'm lamenting after the biggest F up I have done in cards by leaving a piece of equipment in my deck, that I was like, what are you doing? Leave us alone. We're not hurting anybody. We weren't even talking. We were just like legitimately sitting, chilling where we had just played our game.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, dude, I know you got a Judge yellow shirt on, but chill out. Everybody else super cool, super helpful, friendly. There's always got to be 1 or 2 D-bags everywhere.
And I hate, like, I just hear the comments of people that are like, well, it's the rules. Like, you know, like, it's just judges trying to, it's like, it doesn't, no, we're not. Jason's not mad. Like, I know Jason. Jason's not pissed that some dude was asking him to follow the rules. Jason's pissed that he was a douche about it.
There's also,
everybody that was standing there looked at him like, what is your deal, dude? Like, it was just rude. Like, you're representing LSS at that point. You know, we all drove or flew thousands of miles. We're all in the top cut. Just relax. You know what I mean? We're not talking. We're just relaxing before the next round.
Yeah. Well, I mean, even little things, right? Like, it's that whole needing to press the rules to the hardest line possible is really unnecessary with, like, especially grown adults. It's unnecessary in life in general, but especially with adults, it's like, if it's 6 inches, it's fine. It's not, it doesn't end the world. Like, you can, there's room there to just let that slide. You don't have to be an ass about it. We were standing in a group, a small group, and maybe it was the same judge. I don't know. But we were standing in a small group, a few of us guys that all know each other. We were having a conversation, and our buddy Dylan literally pulled his mask down. And they were, to be fair, I will commend them for the fact that they were great about the masks. They were great about the rules. The tables were really spacious, and they weren't like cramming us together like sardines. They were doing their best. I appreciate that. It's smart. I understand it. That's the rules. But like, the guy had basically turned around and walked like 6 table lengths to come over and scold Dylan for not putting his mask up. And he had literally pulled it down, took a drink of his Mountain Dew to finish it, turned around, tossed it in the trash can, and turned around, and his arm was like coming towards his face, and the guy scolded him. And it's like, you haven't even given him a chance. Like, why are you yelling at him for not putting his mask on? Like, but it's like that classic, he turned around, saw the moment, and was like, I'm not waiting. This is my time to shine, baby. I got this shirt.
Yeah,
And
you know what
like,
I think it is?
Just chill.
Yeah. I think that is just a testament to how good the fab community is. I'm just going to go ahead and like pat everybody on the back. Like if that is what they need to stretch that far to be power flexing. Like that's just a testament to how good the community is. So
they were so good. They were run thin. And they worked their butts off. And it was in the slow times that stuff happened. Like when they were busy, they were running. Like I said, they were all really, really, really good. So don't get me wrong. But no matter what we have learned in life, whatever profession, doctor, lawyer, cop, whatever it may be, there's always a bad one in there. There's always a bad one in there. So don't knock me, because every industry has at least one asshole. Okay? Every industry.
So here's a question. Before we go to Jason's good, should we get any bad things? Should we get it out of the way and then just go pure good?
Legitimately all bad that I had, because the pre-release sucked. It took forever, but they immediately fixed it. No issues on the calling. The calling ran smooth as shit.
Yeah, the only two bads I think I had, I would say the prize wall was underwhelming. It was mostly, I literally used my prize tickets to just get cards that I was like, oh, I want foil versions of these Crucible Majestics, so I don't have to use not foils in my decks anymore. That's what I used prize tickets on, which feels kind of weird. But I don't know if that's just a time constraint thing, if it was some other things. So that we'll see in the future what that looks like. I thought they did do a very poor job of being ready for the pre-release. It was like a 7-hour pre-release. It was painful, and that was like after we got the cards and opened stuff up. The rounds it's blitz rounds, right? Like these are supposed to be 30-minute rounds, and it was 6 30-minute rounds, and it took over 7 hours. Like it was so excruciating, because the timer would end and it would have a negative counter, and it would be like 20 25 negative before they would announce like, hey, pairings are up for the next round. You're like, we had an entire round. So that was super painful. But to Jason's point, they had that corrected immediately. Like the next day, it was super smooth.
The calling was as smooth as butter. It was ridiculous how smooth it was, to be honest with you.
The next day we played seven rounds of constructed in 7 hours.
Yeah.
Like
it was the same time for the 6. Yeah.
It was crazy. But the only other thing I have to complain about, the other thing that bugged me was when you finished rounds and you reported, you would sign your paper and you would report on your phone. And that was fine. Like I like the double check system. It makes sense to me to have both systems. The phone made things super easy. But for some reason, they had this weird thing where it's like, if it's the last round of a side event or the last round of a thing, you grab the person you're playing with, sign the paper, and you both have to walk together to the prize ticket line and then wait in line to turn your thing in. And if you didn't, like, I didn't go with the guy that I went with. I turned the slip in after I won my last round of the Pro Quest. And then I walked away, and I heard them, as I was talking to somebody else, I heard them say, well, where's the person you played against? And I was like, oh my God, I didn't know I was supposed to go with somebody. So then I'm wandering around the convention center looking for the guy, trying to find him so I can help him get his prize tickets. Because the last thing I want is him. So I'm like, maybe if we're both looking for each other, we'll find each other faster. But I was like, I don't want him to get to the front of the line. They're like, oh no, you have to find the other guy. Because then he waited in line for 15 minutes to get no tickets, and then has to do it again. So that was weird to me, because like if you went later, you could just tell them your name and they could look up, they'd had printouts. So it's like they could have just said like, hey, tickets are going to take an extra 15 minutes after the end of an event. Give us 15 minutes to get all the things tabulated, then we'll print out the sheets and then just come up and give us your name. Because once you got your tickets, they were highlighting your name for an event and stuff. So I don't know. Once they had the sheet, it was easy. But for some reason, the last round of every event, they had some weird rules, which is odd to me. But
seems like they're making seems like they made more work for themselves to like keep track of who's come up together and all that with forecast
Yeah.
sheets. So it's funny that you mentioned that because Zach from Team Covenant literally mentioned the exact same thing, that he had the same issue.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So hopefully with them and a larger audience that actually, will catch some ears, because that seems silly.
The only thing I won't call this good, bad, or I was just surprised. I was truly shocked, being it was September 11th, 20 years afterwards, that there was no, like, any major event. Usually you would do some, a little bit of silence. Just, it's a kind of a big day in our country. Just nothing like that was not done. I was just kind of surprised. I would have liked to have seen that at a large event, just because it was 20 years. It affected a lot of us. It just
it was a big
that was a little surprising.
That was a sobering day.
Yeah, that's probably a knock. To be fair, probably more on Channel Fireball. I mean, obviously, I know it would be Channel Fireball. It was around the world, right? But I don't necessarily expect LSS to be sitting in their offices thinking about September 11th in America.
Yeah, obviously.
Yeah. So like Channel Fireball, you would think might go, hey, maybe we should mention to LSS, we try to help them out, and be like, hey, you want a cool little moment for the community, like maybe say something about this.
Yeah, I just thought that would have been something nice to start the day. Plus, it gives you that moment of zen, just everything, just good reflect time.
Yeah.
Other than
chill
that,
some people out too. Maybe chill some people. Just like, hey, listen, in like the grand scheme of things, of all the days to get high.
I will say, I wish I could. So my side event experience was very, very limited. Obviously, we did the pre-release. I don't consider that a side event. That was kind of a main thing on Friday. The next side event I did was a Tales of Aria draft, which was only 3 rounds, and I totally spaced out. There was a 3rd round and just started wandering because I was so fried by that time. So then I entered a constructed with Bolton. I will say it was good to see a lot of female players in the side events. I didn't see very many in the calling, but the side events, there was a lot of female players. That was good to see, growing that community. But tell me my issue here, Dane. I play a chain player, which is the 7th of the weekend, so I'm about done with life at this point and just want to shoot myself, because this is my 7th chain matchup of the weekend, 6 in the calling. And so I go...
I'm just keeping track. I'm keeping track of the issues as you're talking, so then I'll just tell you them at the end.
So I play Bolton. I go Sabers.
Yeah.
I block with Courage of Blade Hold on like turn 2 because I got a beacon. And then turn 4, I decide to block with Courage of Blade Hold again.
I mean, you need me to tell you what that issue is?
I mean, I just said, okay, I guess I'll just lose at this point in time, and just started taking damage till the game was over. And then dropped immediately because I knew I was done playing cards for that weekend.
That's funny.
So I didn't do many side events just because I think the calling takes, especially since we did 6 rounds at pre-release, that took forever. So it felt like more like 20 rounds. And then even though the 7 rounds went very smooth, I was pretty tired after that. It's a lot. It's just a lot.
It's been a while since we've had a tournament this size. Like that's like been this enveloping, right? Like I think it was like Destiny Worlds is the last time that we played in anything that was like this all encompassing. We haven't had that experience. And again, like watching Team Covenant's like kind of recap stream, like they sort of nailed it. This is the first like major, event that has really been put on, and the people that play in tournaments and typically do better probably have tournament experience and sort of know what to expect as far as like mindset and fatigue and stuff like that, just personally. So.
I don't think like for me personally, if I finagle Cincinnati, and it might be different, I'm just gonna wait and not sign up for all the side events pre-register for them. I'm just gonna do the calling because I was pretty fatigued out, like didn't have interest. And if you're gonna do the pro quest and you really don't want to like go crazy, and I mean it
so that actually leads really nicely into what I was going to ask about, is because I wasn't there, because you guys both got the calling elite package, whatever, the 99.99 one, right?
Fable.
Which is the Fable package. Thank you. So for those that are going to future callings that didn't get a chance to experience Vegas, what would you guys have for advice as far as how to approach that package, or like what it is that you got? Because I know Jason said he would wait, but like I don't know. I'll be honest, I don't know their process and like the lead time you need to have for registering for events, or if you can do it like on the spot there at a counter, or what.
You can.
your
So they
phone.
had. Yeah, you can do it on your phone. They had little kiosks, like 6 laptops sitting out that you could do it at. Basically, what the Fabled package did for like Jason and I was get us the Nourishing Emptiness mat instead of the Exude Confidence mat. So it kind of like traded to a different mat. And then we got, I don't know, did everybody get a Rainbow Foil Mentor? Because we got a Rainbow Foil Mentor.
You got your Rainbow Foil Mentor. Yeah.
But then, yeah, other than that, like the
entry tickets.
3 entry tickets. The one nice thing is that if you don't use your entry tickets, you could just trade them out for tickets. So if you wanted something from the prize wall, it's like 20, it was like 40 tickets per they gave you if you don't register for an event, which to be fair, if you think you're going to lose events, just buy the tickets that way, because if you go over, you get no tickets. It's the side events. There's no pity tickets. So you could just cash them out. Just buy your package with the Fabled, cash them all out for like 120 tickets and you're golden. It's better than, losing if you go over. But yeah, I only used one. The ProQuest is a separate thing so like you could register for the main event and then pay for the ProQuest and pay less than the Fabled package if you don't think you're going to get side events. Because I honestly only signed up for a side event because Jason's like, yeah, I'm going to go over with Cody and we're going to go do a side event. I was like, all right, I'll play Kano. And then I basically had a stroke while I was playing because I had to play 2 Prisms, which is a nightmare matchup anyway. And then both of them, like within the last few life, put me in a spot where I was like, oh God, now I have to figure out how to win this game in a really awkward situation. And my brain was just dead at that point. I was exhausted. Like I don't think I've ever actually experienced that kind of mental fatigue from a tournament. But 7 rounds at the calling, then the next day, followed by 6 rounds at the ProQuest, was just a lot. Like it was a lot. And then for me to play Kano was probably the worst decision. I should have just played literally anything else. But I was like, we're saddling up, baby. We're taking Kano.
All right. So you get the three tickets with your package, and you can use those. Like you used one for the sealed event on Friday. You used one for the main event and then a side event, basically.
Sealed event. No. So the sealed event was separate as well. That was $40.
Yep.
So basically, all they're good for is 3 constructed events, whether they're Blitz or CC, just 3 events. That's what you get. So here's my recommendation. If you think you're going to do well in the calling, don't buy the big event. Don't buy all the other stuff.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, I didn't go in there thinking, I'm going to do very well in the calling, but obviously I want to make the top 64. I got lucky to make it, that my 2 opponents did very well that I lost to. So by the time you do that, there's just no time. That takes up, and you're done. You're just mentally spent at that time. And I personally would just rather watch the top players go at it, which I did. I watched the final match live just because I wanted to see how they're playing it. And I mean, that was some pretty clean play if you ask me, at the top table for the finals. But I personally, you might save them money, but there is also people that go there just to play side events. There was a lot of people there just playing side events.
That surprised me a lot, actually, how many people were not even there for the calling necessarily.
Everybody was there for pre-release. Pre-release was the biggest event at almost 1,000. There was over 900 for the pre-release.
Yeah,
so that was
4, right?
Oh, it was insane. That was absolutely bananas. I got to see a grown man cry as he opened up a Fable like a table away.
Yeah.
So
is that the guy that's been all over Facebook?
I have no idea.
Oh.
He went crazy. Better, I'm not going to have that type of reaction. I'm like, sweet, it's a Fable. But yeah, he went nuts. Not quite what I would have given him. So they got a better person to open it. I'll just continue my sealed luck of 1 Majestic. That's all. Even in draft, 1 Majestic. That's where I'm at. I've accepted that. But
hey, I broke the curse at the ProQuest. My curse in sealed is I don't usually have bad pools. I never get equipment. Like never. I have like a running streak of pulling like 1 piece of equipment in most of them, and they never block. I always get 0 block equipment, so I've never gotten block out of my equipment. I pulled 3 pieces of Ironhide, and the Monarch sealed the Fed. So I was able to just like 1 blue block 6 every round of the Pro Quest. It was god tier.
That seems silly.
So good.
Before we go into Tales of Aria stuff, we'll just run results for the weekend. Personally, the pre-release event, I was very happy. I went 5-1, only losing a mirror in the last round with Oldham. Oldham, I think, is very good if you run them correctly and sealed. So I'm excited to do sealed. In the calling, I 5-2'd. My 2 losses were to a 6-1 and to a 7-0. So I made the top 64. Shit the bed in the top 64 day, especially as soon as I did the equipment and lost that game, I was mentally done and dropped out. So I was happy to top 64. That was the only 2 big things I did. Blake had a good weekend too.
Yeah, I think we're gonna just change my moniker on all things from Blakey Fresh to Bubble Boy, because I went 5-2. My opponents did not do quite as well as Jason, so I think at the calling I had one opponent finished 4-3, and then one of my losses finished 4-3. The other guy finished 5-2. So I bubbled out, did not make the top. So I decided, all right, Sunday while Jason's gonna go play Top Cut, I will go play in the Pro Quest. We'll see what we can do there. Went 5-1 in the Pro Quest. My opponent was 5-1, I think, and apparently that wasn't good enough because I bubbled out there too. So managed to have the same record as everybody who was making cut on the second half, but it never worked for me. So yeah, that was my weekend. 10-3 overall at the calling in the Pro Quest. Whatever, it's fine. I can't do anything about my opponent's records. Is basically what my attitude is with that kind of thing.
I think they can remedy that by 1 more round.
Yeah, that's probably the only other thing, I guess. That actually was something I meant to
How many people were in the Pro Quest?
320 or something like that.
320, and they did a 6-round cut to top 8.
Yeah. It's just
not enough rounds. You should never miss a top cut at 5-1. I'm sorry. There is no excuse for missing a top cut at 5-1. Yeah. How is one loss kick you out?
X1, yeah. I know.
Yeah.
X1. It felt bad, that's for sure.
It's horrible. That's unacceptable. That's got to be fixed.
It felt bad at X2 as well.
These bigger tournaments, even that, if you have 750, 760 people, you can't just say at 7 rounds we're going to cut to 64. You might need to bump that up to 8 or 9 rounds to get a better representation. And it also feels bad that then if, like me, bubbling in at 5-2, I have 0 chance of making top 8 at 64.
Basically, yeah.
I mean, you're pretty much done at that point. You're statistically out.
Yeah, it's hard. I think at that point, that's where they needed both events needed another round or 2 to try and thin the herd a little bit to make it more reasonable, because that also might mean that your XOs lose a round and end X1, and it's much more believable that your X1s, or you need to cut to the top 64 and then just like restart, like seed everybody top 1 through 64 and play a top 64 tournament, best 4 rounds, whatever, because at least then you get everyone an equal opportunity. If you're going to let everyone go to day 2, don't make it a worthless day 2, because at X2, when there's that many rounds in day 1, somebody who went 7-0, even if they lose 2 rounds and you went out, their strength of schedule is going to be just disgusting compared to yours. It's so good because all of their losses came later. So it's that would be records. That would be like a kind of a late in the good, bad, ugly discussion complaint, or something that I would like to see changes. It felt bad to go X2 and X1 at the calling in the events and not make cut.
And then we'll add one more category. The amazing was meeting everybody. So everybody that came up to us, talked to me and Blake, the other content creators that we got to meet, but everybody that came up. I know we'll have Chris went 7-0 with Bravo. We'll have him on and doing a deck tech with his 7-0 Bravo build from day 1. That was pretty amazing to run him to undefeated as a Bravo player. So we'll have him on. Great to meet him. But I met tons of amazing people. I gave out 1 challenge coin. It was to the 7-0 day 1 player on chain. So it was amazing meeting a lot of people. So that was a great time.
Yeah, it was a blast. It was great to meet everybody.
We gave up 2 then? 2 challenge coins? I got to watch out for 2.
Just
0.
one.
Just one. Just got to watch
Yep.
out for one
I gave
dude
0.
coming at me in Cincinnati. That'll be good.
So now, on to Tales of Aria. Here's my first thought. Here's my first hot take, and I put this in the group chat, or I actually put it in our Discord. If your deck can't beat Chain, just throw it away, because Chain is just as good in this. Like, we said, oh, he's dead, he's not gonna be, like, thinking he's just as good. He's
not
just
dead.
as good.
The current iteration of Chain, I think we all pretty unanimously thought was gonna not be viable. Like, so
the way he's built right now. Yeah.
Right. Well, I mean, obviously you put a Duskblade in, he's a lot different just in that alone, but you're adding a lot more blue to it. And he's actually, from what it sounds like, a lot of people say he might be even, which is disgusting. I mean, Duskblade for 12 sounds bad. And that's not that hard for him to get those off.
That's 10. That's 10 turns though.
He probably hits that more consistently than any
than Briar
blades. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm exaggerating by saying 12.
Yeah.
But when it's ending turns for, I mean, turn 2 is pretty quick, and now you're already at that 4 mark, and then it's 5, 6, 7, 8. I mean, most of my Chain games with Bravo went to either I beat them on the last turn or they beat me on the deck out turn. Like, that was every turn with the deck out turn with Bravo.
Yeah, every game.
And that was usually 8 to 10 Soul Shackles. I can't imagine if they're ending with a 10, 1 resource 10 with the Duskblade. That's disgusting.
I will say it does make something like Chains of Eminence potentially even more important going into Chain, because I think a lot of turns he's going to be relying on Seeds of Agony to be his non-attack action that keeps his counter on his Duskblade. So if at some point in there you can just drop a Chains and say Seeds of Agony, you make them find a Howl or some other non-attack action so that they can keep the counter on their sword, which, I mean, obviously that's not impossible, but if you can, I think that the trick now is going to be to continue to interrupt Chain, kind of break him up.
Right. Yeah. What is it? The Oath of the Arknight and the Tome of the Arknight, those 2 blues, I think will soon be in there. So there will be more options besides Seeds, but yeah, Seeds will still be a popular one to boost that up.
Well, I just think too, like, I don't know, just like in my head, it makes sense to run Chain, like a new Chain with Duskblade, like even like kind of more Blood Debt heavy, but just like getting to like 3. Because like, just if you're just building a token every turn on your Duskblade, like that is like the new win con. And if you can have 4 cards in hand and be like, oh, I have all non-attack actions, which happens in Briar, happens, like, you know what I mean? Like, it just happens in the game RNG, right? But being able to then use your 3 soul shackles to be like, do I hit an attack here or here or here? And just that consistency increase makes Duskblade like the win con that you will hit consistently. Because all you need is like, oh, I have all attack actions and I flip a Seeds. It's like, okay, great. Duskblade counter is still alive because I had 7 cards to, pick from. So I feel like it's almost less about how much you can shackle and more now about how consistently you can banish cards to supplement your hand. And so I don't know. That's kind of where I see it going, but I don't play Chain. So it makes me mad because I'm excited for Briar, but I feel like, because I like Duskblade, but Chain just does it better, which sucks.
I think Briar's just going to be better playing Rosetta because what's going to make her good is like is building her different. I think that's the thing between that they've done well. I actually commend LSS because a lot of times in other games, like archetypal decks are very hard to like create discernment between them. It's like you build this, it's like this is the Runeblade archetype. Okay, well, why should I play Chain and not Viscerai? Why should I play Briar and not Chain? And in some games, like the archetypes are so married to a concept that they don't build them different. So it's like, why would I ever change heroes unless you rotate my old guy out?
So I will say this. I realized when I was evaluating the new heroes, just like flipping through stuff, like I'm excited for Briar. Briar is the only hero not locked to the new set. You don't need to pitch an ice card or an earth card to get your defense reaction. You don't need to flip a lightning card or an ice card to get an effect. You just need a non-attack and an attack. You can run no cards from the new set and play Briar full efficiency. Like you can just hit plunder runs and goddamn slogisms. Like if you have a non-attack and then an attack and then swing with the sword, you get everything that Briar wants to do. Does she have other stuff that helps her? Yes. Is there like an archetype within this set? Yes. But do you need to build her like that? No. And nothing about her character card is locked to the set, which is, I think that's really sweet. I like that they did that because you can take her and just completely brainstorm out your ass about past sets, which is super exciting to me.
Yeah. Well, especially because as much as Oldhim is a guardian and you can definitely just swing like a guardian. I watched Ice Jar Games did a play test where they printed out the cards and did an in-person play test with Briar and Oldhim. And at one point, Daniel, one of the guys, said, he's like, how do I kill you with this guardian? Like without on-demand dominate, how do I finish you and stop you from just blocking me? And I thought about that. I was thinking, I'm like, that's actually a very good point because you're relying on seeing cards that say dominate and have dominate triggers on them, but then you have to pitch a card to pay for it and then show a card to fuse it to get dominate on it. Whereas with Bravo, you just go, okay, I have this card, it costs 4, I have these 2 blues, and I have Bravo. I win.
You just thump them.
Yeah.
Well,
the problem
set
is
up the Terra Sunder. Like,
that's the point. Like that's the thing, though, right? It's like now you have to set up your dominate versus just drawing into any guardian attack for 7 or more.
You have to set up your dominate in normal guardian as well. I mean, you still have to get the card and take a bunch of damage. So I mean,
you typically don't.
There's always
at that point you're ahead.
It's not as
it's not as The dominate isn't on demand. It doesn't happen whenever you want it to. It happens when the deck allows it to. Versus like Bravo just saying like, here's a dominate, and now they said, hey Bravo, here's Terra Sunder, so you don't even have to pay instead of paying 2 for your ability.
Well, no, all he's saying, Jason, is that in like Bravo, yes, you could need to set up like got it. They're both.
It's the same. You just pitch the cards together the same way you do with Bravo.
You do, but you will see more consistently.
So you need just as many cards in Bravo because you need 3 blues and your big red. So you need just as many cards to pitch and to set up.
No, you need if you have resources though. You need specific cards in Oldhim. You just need the resource count in Bravo. You need to see an attack and enough resources to dominate it.
That's not the easiest thing to do.
No, it's not, but it is less of a hindrance than needing to see a specific card. That's it. That's the only thing that he's saying.
All I'm saying is if I arsenal a red attack, when I see the correct number of blues, I dominate and I win. With Oldhim, I need to see the card that says the word dominate on it because I don't have dominate for free on everything. I can't use my hero ability to automatically dominate as soon as I have the resource card.
You can run Spinal Crush. You can run dominate cards in Oldhim.
But those are
Spinal Crush doesn't have dominate. You have to see Spinal Crush. I'm saying like that. Right. Okay. Yeah. That's all I'm saying is like
he's not saying it's easy or that it's like even necessarily that much more difficult because it's setup is setup. But it's easier to maybe see it a turn early or be able to put on pressure early because you saw enough resources in Bravo and can dominate a random attack versus needing to see the dominate card.
Yeah. Glacial Footsteps is insane. But you have to have an ice card to get dominate. So if you just happen upon a hand that doesn't have an ice card, you have to arsenal Glacial Footsteps and then hang on to it until you find your ice card and then make sure your pitch is correct to get the ice card as the reveal.
There's so many cards that buff it and it's only a 4 card cost.
Right. But still to be fair, if we're being fair, that means you have to have, in order to play that card, you have to find a card that buffs it. So you have to find a card that buffs it and thump. You don't have to pitch a card and say, here's a dominate attack.
My only thinking is because of the way Bravo works, that's not that hard just because Oldham's the same way where you're going to be pitching cards to set up that final the same way you pitch your Crippling Crush early and then you make sure you put 3 blues around it so that when you get to your game, you're not stuck with a red and a red and 2, you know what I mean? So I
yeah,
think,
no,
Right.
I understand
think
that.
it's easier than it's obviously not as easy, but I don't think it's that difficult. I
Right.
think the
Right.
issue
No, that's not what you're saying.
is it just still doesn't beat chain. That's the real issue. That right now it's going to take a long ways on Oldham to get to a point where it can just beat chain.
Yeah. I
The
mean,
Duskblade
they,
not having to like connect or anything, like for that, just to be like, as long as you can swing with it, it's going
Once
to gain
you
a
swing
counter.
with it.
As long as you play an attack and non-attack, you get to keep your counters. It's like that's kind of silly. I
Right.
mean, yeah.
I will say, I think that like one of the benefits that over time Bravo will have over Oldham is like the thing that Bravo got in this set is like when people see a card and you think to yourself, this card is insane. It's Terra Sunder.
It is.
And you think to yourself, oh, hey, look, hey, look at this. Bravo's already really good. And it's funny because like Bravo is like over here and everyone's like looking at Chain, and Chain's the popular girl, but like Bravo had great results other than like when he got to the top cut. But that's because I'm gonna say it, and I don't care who gets mad about it. It's harder to play Bravo over a long 7-round tournament than it is to play Chain, because you're gifted turns with Chain that like I have to work through everything turn by turn by turn with Bravo. Every single turn playing into Chain, even fatigue, I have to like manipulate every single turn correctly, because if I don't, I die.
Kale's a sadist. Masochist? What's the one that likes to self-inflict pain? That
Masochist.
One.
Yeah.
Masochist.
Yeah.
God,
But like
damn.
all I'm saying is like now Bravo has a thing where if I have a Terra Sunder in my arsenal, I need 2 blue cards to go pitch Terra Sunder, pitch Anathos for 7 with Dominate. If it touches you at all, you're losing 2 cards.
Yeah.
I'm wondering with the making of Seismic Surges if Embolden will be at all playable.
Oh, the like, yeah. I mean, I don't see why not. It's pretty good.
Hey, but
the whole draw the card is what makes it good if you're playing Seismic Surges.
I mean, but Bravo.
Yeah.
So Bravo got the new toy, but let's not skip over Azalea's new toy.
Which one? Which one? Which one do you like best?
The one that's just as good as Terra Sunder.
Seek and Destroy.
Oh, you guys can't think of any because it didn't happen.
That's fair.
Overflex.
I mean, it got Overflex. That's busted. That card's insane.
I mean, Seek and Destroy is not bad.
It's good.
Would you put that on par with Terra Sunder for Bravo?
I mean,
no.
You thought about it. That's enough.
Good, but they did put the cost curve where it needs to be on there.
Yeah, I mean, but still,
it doesn't.
It's so scary.
I mean, so basically, it sounds like that we need Lexi. Lexi's our hope to bring Chain down. I mean, that's kind of the hope.
I've been messing with that Ice Lexi list, and I'm excited to play that.
And as Oldham, like for me, I would run straight Ice into a Chain, but then there's other matchups where you almost have to have a 40 card main deck, and I'd want to swap out between 20 Earth and 20 Ice, because there is some matchups that Earth is just really, really good.
Mm-hmm.
And just, even some of the older decks that who knows what will happen, or if Viserai comes up. I mean, Viserai could make some noise in the next one. He got just as much help as the other Room Blades.
Mm-hmm.
I think I've said it. I think Viserai is going to be the sneaky pick this meta, because if people are going to be manipulating resource curves, Viserai already just goes, yeah, I play this card for free because I have 3 Rune Chants, so now it's 1. Versus somebody else going, this card cost me 2, now it costs me 3. Like that goes from being
Rune Chants, so still free. Yeah.
Yeah, it very much changes the ability of that. Like that deck has the ability to just like kind of go right through Frostbite, right past it, where other decks
is that how it gets ruled?
I'm not sure if
like
you
where
can.
Where does the Frostbite come in as an effect? Does it increase the resource cost per Frostbite, or do you have to pay for the Frostbite
cards and activated abilities you control cost an additional?
Oh yeah, okay, so that would read to me as Viserai discounts it. So
Yep. So if they cost an additional, instead of being a 3 cost, it's a 4 cost. But the card reads, this card's cost is decreased by 1 for every rune chant you control. Right? Like that's how a lot of those cards are worded.
Yeah,
so if the card is
no,
so
I
then
know.
if
I
it's
just want to
now
make sure that it wasn't
not
like
an
you had to pay a
addition. Yeah,
resource to play it.
it's not an right. To your point, it's not an additional cost. It's not you must pay 1 for this token.
Right.
It just increases our cost. Yep.
So I think he will be good. I just think there's enough for him. Just the boots he got. I mean, if you can go Mordred Tide into a read the runes, and then when you get stuck with 3 non-attacks, you get another one off.
I just
Seems
think
pretty.
I was thinking through that too because I've got like all the Viserai stuff, and I like Viserai as an archetype, but like everything I was thinking of that he could do now with this stuff, I go back to why wouldn't you just do it with a 7-card hand?
Because here's the thing. Viserai is one of the weird decks that actually has solid game into chain, but he's underrepresented because the way that he produces damage is really problematic for chain to manipulate and get around. Everybody else is going, here's this, here's that. And it's like chain will say, well, I'll just take some damage. The problem is when Viserai goes, okay, but here's 8 rune chance and then a 6 attack with go again. Because you pop time skipper or with an extra action point, and then I'm also going to make rune chance off of this thing, and then I'm going to make, and all of a sudden you're just spraying like 14 damage in a turn, and Viserai can't, or chain can't just go, oh, I'll husk it, because the bulk of the damage is actually coming via arcane, and then it's like a 3 attack with go again, or a 4 attack with go again. It's like, trust me, as a Bravo player, chain players don't like putting their husk out for a hammer. Like Anathos for 4, at least 3 chain players had to reluctantly give me a husk for an Anathos for 4.
Like
because I was just like,
they're like, well,
yeah. They're like, if I take this hit, I go below 13 and I lose it anyway. I guess I just husk it. And it's like, yeah, you do. And it's like this sick satisfaction of like watching a chain player block it. I literally let one guy took 2 damage and went to 12. And his husk was going to break. And I was holding a blue card. And I'm like, oh, I should swing Anathos. I was like, no. It's a blue card. It blocks for 4. It blocks for 3. Pass. Just like he's just gonna block it with his husk. I'm not even gonna give him the satisfaction of blocking with his husk. I'm taking it from him. It's very satisfying.
I believe it.
Yeah, Viserai would be my pick, and then hopefully Lexi can do something.
I'm really excited for Sealed.
Sealed's great. Sealed's gonna be great.
Very good. It's so good.
We're playing tonight. If you're watching this, it's Friday morning. Tomorrow night for us because we're recording this Thursday. But playing tonight and Saturday and Sunday, and I'm just going to jam Sealed. I'm so freaking chomping at the bit.
I was planning on 3 days of Sealed this weekend. Now it's 1. So we just found out yesterday that we have to do it's parents' night, so we walk with Mason on the for the varsity football game. Because I was going to come to his game, but I was just going to be late. I was going to come in the second half, so I was like, just say I'm deceased or something, and say
he lost his father
in a horrific flesh and blood accident.
What?
Flesh and blood accident. And then Sunday is lacrosse. So now I've just Saturday, and I'm okay with that. I'm okay with just
curse
one.
of having
plenty
cool
of cards.
Kids. Curse of having cool kids as your kids.
Oh well.
Sports and doing. I'm seeing it.
Fun.
I'm seeing my future with Sheldon already. Like he loves being active and doing stuff like that. It's like, all right, I'm gonna take advantage when he's 10 still, and I got time and flexibility because as soon as he hits high school, he's gonna be doing all kinds of stuff. I'm certain of it.
What happens? That's what happens.
Fartsy kids, baby. Yeah. So, like when it comes to Aria Sealed, okay?
Yeah.
Well, first off, before we even talk about it, if you're listening to this and you have a Sealed event this weekend, we can put a link to it in the description. But Kurt, our buddy Rayvwen, put out a really, really good like primer for Aria Sealed, where he didn't just go through like I think people always put out their checkout. This is how you play Sealed video.
Yeah.
Kurt did a hell of a job and actually broke down like the heroes elements and how to properly understand the elemental breakdown and what you can and can't play and the different styles that they play in. If it's your first time, this is how earth plays, this is how ice plays, this is how lightning plays, these are the heroes you can play them with, and this is what the heroes are trying to accomplish. It's so good. So if you're playing in a sealed event for the first time, or if you just are one of those people who's like, I've read some of the cards but I don't understand how they work, seriously, go down and click on it. I have a few friends that I know who are like going to sealed events for the first time this weekend, like their first serious sealed event. I sent it to them immediately. I was like, Jake, check it out. Watch this video. It will help you a ton with just to understand how to play this set in sealed. And it's really good. So whether you're doing it or somebody else is doing it that you know, and you're like, hey, I got my buddy to come play sealed, send him the video. It's like 12 minutes long, but it's so good. And kudos, he even put the little like timestamps so you can click through. If you're like, I don't want to listen to Kurt do the introduction, I just want to hear the rest of it, jump right past the introduction and go straight into like the different elements. So now that we've got past that, because we want to shout out Kurt, because we love Kurt Rayvwen. He's a great dude. He's got a good channel, love his stuff. So, and he's always around. He helps. He's like our tech guy. So he's giving us help.
Unofficial IT support when we're having
IT support.
I'm having TTS issues and stuff.
When you're looking at the Aria sealed pool, what are you guys looking for? Like, what's the style? I know Jason's really big on Oldhim, and he's really high on Oldhim and sealed. But like, what are you looking for as far as synergies go? Because I think that's something that people miss sometimes. Is Nick Butcher, our buddy, said it really well. He said sealed is like basically all theory. If you know how to play the game, you need to understand the theory for sealed. And I think the sealed theory comes from understanding synergies, like what you're looking for to build certain decks when you open your card pool.
I think I think there's like so I'm starting, I know I talked to you guys about it, but like I'll let Jason start since he actually played. You played sealed.
So on my one sealed event, I'm going to try to talk my wife into going so that I get 2 sets of cards. And I'm going to have her do what I did at the pre-release in Vegas. She's gonna take Oldhim, every Earth, every Elemental card, and every Ice card will go into the deck. She will find 1 or 2 Thumps and one of the 2 Earthlore Surges, I think is what they're called, and that will be her 2 win conditions, and she'll block every single attack on the way out and only attack with those 2 sources and win the game. That's basically how I went 5-0. Is I blocked everything, and if I attacked, it was only double digits. I didn't waste my time with little attacks. It was double digit huge swings. Obviously there's some instances
go for broke.
There's little attacks here and there. If I had a blue card left, obviously I'm going to swing hammer. Or a lot of people are playing Briar. It's a very hard deck to play as. If you don't know the card pool, don't play Briar. Okay, don't play her if you don't know it well, because they were bricking, and I'm like, you're coming with 2. You have no go again. There's no Snapdragons. I'm just looking like you get confused of, is it really, especially after like grinding out CC games, waiting for all the traps that are going through your mind of what is going to hit me. I'm like, there's really not. Block it. Okay, pass. I'm like, all right, so I'll just hit you back for 12 then. So my biggest advice would be try to stick with 1 element in the elemental cards. So your elemental cards can go into pretty much anything, and then try to stay with 1 standard element, or and stay away from Briar unless you read her cards. Like, you gotta know her cards well.
I think in sealed you have to go in with like, you have to ask yourself when you're building the deck, like, what's my win con? How do I win games with this deck? Because you have to realize, like, I lost 2 games. Like, I was playing Briar, I felt pretty good, and the deck was running really well. I lost 1 game because it just bricked. Like the first 2 turns, I didn't see a non-attack action, so I couldn't get lightning tokens. I couldn't attack. I was just hitting all of like, so I just got stuck in this weird spot where I was like attack for 3, pass, attack for 4 with an arcane pass. And it was weird and clunky. And then the other 2 games I lost were purely because I got Oldham's. I got one guy turn 1. He's like, wins the roll. He's like, yeah, I'll go first. I was like, cool. He's like, oh, that's a pretty good hand. And I was like, cool. Sounds good. What do you got for me, buddy? And he's like, I'll play red Glacial Footsteps for 10, fusing with an ice. So it's 10 with Dominate. I was like, yeah. Okay.
I'll start the game with 13 life. Sounds good.
Yeah. It seems like it's going to go well. And then he played Terra Sunder on me at one point. I'm just like, what kind of pool is this trash? Like, what did you pull? Like, I'm over here playing some garbage cards to fill out my deck to try and make it synergistic, and you're just gonna Terra Sunder me. He's like, yeah, I actually opened 2. I'm like, oh, cool, sounds good. I'm glad you didn't. Good thing you didn't play the second one, or I might have actually just left. Like, I'd have just left the calling altogether if somebody Terra Sundered me twice in a pre-release. Like,
that's awesome.
That's
so
funny.
awesome.
But no, I think you have to have a win con. So if your win con is like Oldham, and it's a combination of like fatigue and big attacks, that's great. If you're going the route of like Briar, I think you have to focus really hard on making sure that you have cards that deal multiple sources of damage, because you get to make those tokens with multiple sources. So if you can play an attack, like one of the really good attacks that you can do is like the ones that have the ping arcane damage, because if the card deals physical and arcane damage, in her case, because it's looking not for a hit, but for the card dealing damage, you get 2 of the tokens for the earth, which make now her a lot of the non-attack actions now block for 4. So you can, there was one guy, I was talking to maybe Dylan or somebody locally, and they said that in the pre-release, somebody hit them with one of those with Go Again, and then another one with Go Again. And they ended up like with the turn, they ended up with 4 earth tokens. So the next turn they attacked for like 6 or 7, and they used 1 non-attack action to block 6. It was like, oh God, like that would feel so bad. But yeah.
You also need to have the right on Briar. There was some huge arcane output damage turns. The highest I heard was 17. That was Chris the Bravo player had it against him. Somebody hit him for 17 on like turn 1 or 2 of arcane damage. So if you can sequence those cards right together, she can output a huge amount of arcane, because there's ones that will buff future arcane damage. So that is definitely, her arcane is a win con. You just have to set it up and play it properly, because there's no arcane block, so you're just gonna take it.
Yeah, I think my first day, and this will develop as we go, but like first day, I'm gonna look at my hero pools, like not even looking at like the ice cards and stuff, or the elemental cards and stuff. But I think just looking, because I like to look at my pools and check stuff off as not viable. So I'm gonna look at Lexi, and I'm probably gonna check her off as not viable, but gonna make sure, because I want to make sure that there's not like a huge pool of arrows that are effective, and that there's not something I'm missing there, because I do think like her dominate on a stick, basically, it can be super good as long as you're not going to whiff or have that inconsistency. Like if you can set up like a late game, like big dominate arrow, that's your win con. You're doing the same thing as Oldham basically, right? But you're able to put on more like ping pressure throughout, so they might be more hesitant. But that aside, that would be a very specific pool that I would need to say, oh, this is actually probably a decent pool for this, I think.
Yeah.
Time will tell, obviously. But then I think the big like comparison is going to be Oldham versus Briar, because I would probably then look at Runeblade and say, how many sources of arcane do I have? How much damage can I output if I see my whole deck? Like, is it 15 plus? Because I'm probably going to run Briar just for the fact that just by attacking, I am putting out 10 to 15 damage in a game.
Yeah.
Just from what I'm doing anyways. No sword swings, no damage getting through on my attacks. So if that's the case, then Briar looks really promising. But Oldham, I think with his dominate swings and defensive capabilities and fatiguing, Jason, after you running fatigue Oldham, like that's just, it seems like such a solid play. that.
Yeah. I will say two things that stuck out to me. Number one, I think another tip to playing like Lexi is if you decide to yourself, like, I think my pool is good for Lexi. If you don't have multiple Bolton shots, I think you're wrong. That your pool is not good for Lexi because that's one of your sources of like free go again that you don't need to flip a lightning card. But that's the thing too, is if you can flip a lightning card consistently to get go again on your first attack and then be holding a Bolton shot to instant into your arsenal and then fire it off with go again, you're able to go pretty consistently 2 and 3 attacks wide with her if you build lightning heavy. I think ice is pretty awful. But one of the I was just gonna say, I think she's tough to build in, like, not having a physical weapon is hard.
I think the thing with Lexi is it comes down to what your non-arrow attacks are in your pool. Because I think that
100%.
Lexi and Sealed is not like I said arrows because Ranger and I was locked into arrows, but in reality, looking at her pool, do I have the lightning on the bottom, the keywords? Do I have lightning attacks and or ice attacks that are viable and something that I can hit consistently? Because if you're probably going to have 10 to 12 arrows, 14 arrows, something like that in your pool.
I will say, if you pull like ice quakes and frost fangs and can stack those up in ice, both Oldham and Lexi become a factor then, because it's very disruptive, especially for 3 cards. If you have a blue, you can go Ice Quake and a Frostfang, and I know this because I did it, and it's an 8 attack, and if it hits, they get a Frostbite, and they have to pay 2 or discard a card.
Yeah.
It's super gross. So the element attacks in this set are so important because they're not generic, but they are in a way, and they're just, everyone can go into 2 different heroes, and I think that's why this set works so well. So if you get a good ice, you can be like, I got a ton of good ice cards. What strategy is this going to work into?
Do I have the lightning pool to run Lexi with the ice?
Or do I have the buff cards? Do I have the buff cards that now the dominate on Lexi is freaking insane? So now I can go Ice Quake. There's just a ton. Everyone has a +3 or greater buff card. You go that into an arrow for 8 for game. That's got a really good chance of just winning right there on a dominate. So
like a turn with
you're
no arrows,
off hero cards.
So even the thing that intrigues me about Lexi is, like, I feel like she's pretty valid without arrows even. Like, yes, getting like if you could run no arrows, just like at the start of your turn, flip up a lightning card that you arsenaled, play a Frostfang with go again because it's just your first attack action that gets go again. Play your lightning card from arsenal. That's 2 attacks with like the hit effect and the ice, and then just arsenal a card and pass. No arrows shot, big threat. I think that she's more valid. Like, she's more valid without arrows than Azalea is.
But absolutely think outside the box. Just like you said, doesn't have to be arrow attacks. This is sealed. So when you're looking at your pool, find those synergies like that and make it work, because it makes a huge difference when you don't have all the defense reacts and all the armor blocks. Every little bit of synergistic cards pools that you find like that together make a huge difference, and just you could just win. Not because, and those are, a lot of them are common cards or rares. They don't have to be majestics. That's another thing that's great about this set, is there is a lot of really, really good common cards, and you can make a super functional deck on all commons. I think actually a popper format with these cards would be a lot of fun as well.
I think so.
So speaking of commons, I think one important card, RIP Adam, who I think he said he ended up losing the game because of this, or he might have ended up winning it, but he had like one of those moments where he just went, oh no. There's a card in this set, it's a common, Inspire Lightning. So most Rune Blade actions have go again. Almost all of them have go again. Inspire Lightning does not have go again. So if you're playing in Seal and you pull on Inspire Lightning, you think, oh my God, this card's crazy. Pay 1, play Inspire Lightning, Lightning Fusion, deal 3 arcane damage. This is so crazy. Then I go into attack. No. You don't go to an attack. You just end your turn. That's
Yeah.
the end of your turn. So Adam
You gotta
said
do that. Yeah, after the
he played Inspire Lightning. It was like, I'll fuse it. And the guy was like, he's like, yeah, I'll take the 3 arcane. I don't have any arcane barrier. And he was reading the card as the guy was taking the damage, and he went, oh, there's no go again. I'm gonna
That's it.
Arsenal. he's like, I didn't read the card. He's like, I thought it's a non-attack action. Of course it has go again. Why would it have go again?
right.
And I was like, yeah, no, I get it. Like, if you don't play Runeblade a lot, you don't see like read the runes. You don't realize there are cards without go again that are not attacks.
Mhm.
Say the Earth Lore Surge is a common 2-cost next attack action card is +5 is bananas. You get
Yeah.
that. I'd always arsenal it, block out till I got either a thump or I mean even like an Autumn's Touch for 7. So I need 2
Mhm.
blues to do 12 damage. Okay, not bad. You'd set that up, block out. I'll swing for 12. Just 12. Just 12. No hit effects.
Yeah.
Just a simple 12. So either they give you your hand or most people just got to take damage at that point. It's fun.
Yeah.
Dane, you're gonna have a ton of fun. Everybody that's
Yeah, I'm
listening is gonna have a ton of fun. This set is amazing and sealed. I love it. I absolutely love it.
Yeah. There's a lot of cards that I think like as the set comes out or as people get more experience in the sealed, you're going to realize that there are certain things that you're not used to doing that all of a sudden you have to do, right? Like we're all used to against warrior. If you're a weapon focused deck, you don't swing weapon into warrior on 1 health because you don't want to get shunted. But what's interesting is all of a sudden now with this set, Runeblade has a similar thing if you don't have resources floating in Arcane Barrier, because Sigil of Suffering can just go, hey, here's an arcane damage. You don't have any resources floating. So yeah, take a damage. Cool. We good? All right, sounds good. And then it buffs its own defense. So like the red one blocks for 3 as a defense reaction for 0. And if it deals arcane, it turns into a 4. So that's a card that I think, you know, people are going to go down to 1. I guarantee there's at least a handful of people who are going to lose this weekend in a seal event because they're going to go to 1 thinking, okay, I know I can't go back to their turn because I lose on their turn. And then they're going to attack and the person's going to go, cool, no defense reaction, Sigil of Suffering. You have 0 resources floating, right? Cool, I'll deal you an arcane. It's like,
well, it doesn't matter if they have resources floating or not.
there's no arcane barrier.
There's no arcane barrier. They just die. You just die. You just die.
Deal an arcane.
Just die.
You're dead. Cool. Okay,
dead.
cool. So you want me to go report or how do you want to do this?
Are we cool here?
I mean, what is for Spell Void? There's only one.
I think there's only one thing.
Yeah, it's the gauntlets, right?
Shock Charmers have Spell Void 2, which is a legendary. So you pull that, you're probably going to
Arcane
be doing pretty
barrier is
good.
only on the Ice Heart. Or the heart.
Oh,
Yeah,
God.
arcane barriers.
Yeah.
So legendaries. That's your chance.
Godspeed. Open a legendary and you can win this thing by not dying.
That's why I'm going to tell you
arcane.
right now. If you're playing Briar, you better block the physical because that's going to be your opportunity. I blocked everything physical from Briar because I knew I was going to have to take the arcane. So just block all the physical damage. You have no choice.
I counted it up over 2 turns. I dealt someone 11 arcane damage with Briar. One
The
game.
disgusting thing about Briar is she can run the Earth cards, and the Earth cards are huge Guardian style attacks. So maybe she has an off turn, but still runs an Earth Lord, just like I said, an Earth Lord Surge into an Autumn. That's another 12 attack, and Briar did her non in her attack action in that turn. It's just disgusting.
Yeah. There are a lot of cards in this set too. One of the things that's really cool is there are actually quite a few cards that have some sort of like hand fixing if you manipulate the cards correctly. If you play a bunch of Break Ground in an Earth deck, it allows you to just cycle your arsenal to draw cards. So if you have a bad card in your hand in Arsenal, but you play a ton of Break Grounds, you can arsenal a card that maybe you're like, I don't know if I'm ever going to get to play this card, and Break Ground can kind of fix that for you. There's a handful of attacks like Electrify that when played from your arsenal lets you draw a card. So there's a bunch of stuff too that you need to really look into the synergies of these different cards and see like, okay, what cards do I want? What cards do I need? Because that's the thing too, is if you have too many cards that draw or have benefits from arsenal in a sealed pool, sometimes you might go a couple turns without an arsenal and you lose a ton of your benefits. So you have to prioritize like the the actual best cards and not just be like, well, these cards draw me if I play from Arsenal. It's like, well, if you have 8 cards that draw when played from Arsenal, you're probably going to get it off a couple times in the game, but you're never going to play all of them because you're never going to see all of them spaced out correctly. So like prioritize the best ones. Like maybe don't play the yellow one if you have another card that's better, because if you're not playing Oldham Fatigue, I think you need to be at like a really tight 30 to play Lexi or Briar efficiently, because you don't want your ratios getting wonky with your non-attacks and attacks, your arrows and lightning cards, whatever. If you let your ratios get out of whack because you're like, well, I can't, I don't want to get fatigued, then the deck's going to run inefficiently and you're actually going to be easier to fatigue.
Well, I also don't know that like Oldham doesn't feel like he needs to run like a drastically high amount of cards to not fatigue, because he can pitch to his own defense reaction.
Absolutely.
And he's
I agree. I only ran 42.
I was 12 extra. That's it. No,
And I needed them all
yeah.
to do true fatigue, because you're blocking 3-4 cards sometimes because you have 2 blocks in there.
Oh, yeah, that's
and
fair.
because you need them for the blue. So
Yeah.
if you run Oldham Fatigue, you do run heavy because you can always swing your hammer for 4. It's
right,
a good.
But again, that's going back in deck, is what I'm saying. It's like it just seems like with his defense reaction to stop 2, yeah, that's a pitch back in deck. Swinging hammer is a pitch back in deck. So it just feels like it.
So the swing always prevent 2, because that has to be an earth card, blue, or an ice one. So
Well,
that
card
is
from hand. Yep.
in sealed. That's a little more clunky than what you'd think.
Okay.
Of getting that off consistently.
Okay. What do you? I mean, I figured. I assumed that
Guardian cards don't trigger that. There's not a Guardian card that
No, I
triggers
know.
that ability.
It's ice and earth cards, right?
Right.
I assumed
That's
that
why
you're getting like 8 to 12 in a sealed pool. Not necessarily blue, but cards. That
so
you can pitch
your
to.
Guardian cards are 12. Your class cards are 12 to 14.
I'm talking about the element, like the specific element
Well,
cards.
yeah, but you also have like just elemental cards that
No,
you
I know,
need to put in the deck.
But I'm talking like
so.
ice cards. You have like 8 to 12 ice cards, right? 8 to 12 lightning, 8 to 12.
I'd have to relook. I don't remember.
I mean, the issue is you don't want to run like your. I think some people were running their amulets as like cards, but like the amulets suck in sealed because they don't block.
Really?
Yeah, you can't run them.
I think
they didn't allow
though, right?
them
Because
to be
it's,
run.
I mean,
you pitch them
good.
to his effect, and it's just a single card that triggers the.
I would have run it if we
Godspeed.
could have. They didn't allow us to.
They didn't
I
allow
would
us
have
to.
run it.
I wouldn't, just because like no blocks when you already, because here's the thing, like Ball Lightning is a really good card in sealed, because you're talking about a card that's just
still blocks in well, it still does something in Oldham.
right. They still do something. My issue is the fact that like it doesn't just pure block. The Earth one is actually reasonable in Oldham. The Ice one just minuses them a card in hand, but they might not attack until they expend most of their cards anyway.
Right.
But like 0 blocking or cards that don't block are rough and sealed. Like Ball Lightning is really good because it's a 0 cost with Go Again that attacks for 1, 2, or 3 and buffs all your attacks. The problem is it blocks for 0. Like I died because I had 2 in hand one game. A guy just goes 5 attack and I was at 2 life, or at 1 life, and I had 2 block cards and 2 Ball Lightnings, and I just lost. I was like, this is great. I just got Terra Sundered last turn. So it's like, if you're playing Oldham, maybe, but I still don't know that the ice one is a value, because a lot of people have to block with multiple cards and then expend most of their hand to do anything because your cost curves are kind of wonky.
I loved it because it turned on his hammer too. So I liked it in Oldham a lot. Yeah, I ran the ones that I pulled. I because we couldn't pull the actual promos, but I liked it just because you pitch the ice, then your hammer does the frostbite, so now it's gonna hurt them. So yeah, there's a chance, but Oldham doesn't. That was like one of the only 0 blocks, so it didn't feel very bad in him at all. Yeah. So to wrap up my final thoughts, the calling was an amazing success. I'm gonna be trying my hardest to get to Cincinnati because I don't think Orlando's gonna happen now, but would love to be there. It was great meeting everybody. If you came up and say hi, it was awesome to meet you. Aria pre-release this weekend. Can't wait to get some cards and actually for the set to drop and start building these new decks and trying to beat Chain.
Yeah, I will absolutely, agree with that. The calling was amazing. The experience was great. The people were incredible. You know, it was great to get out with the community and play games. It's been a long time since we've been able to play in one of these like really big, mass, wide scale tournaments, and it was absolutely incredible. It was everything I wanted it to be. You know, we continued to be impressed by LSS's ability to make an incredible card game. We're about to be another set deeper with Tales of Aria, and I'm excited for it. Even though Chain's a pain, you know, I took down 3 of the 4 that I played. So we'll eventually find a solution for Duskblade Chain. It's only a matter of time. So we're coming for you, Chains. We're coming for you.
Yeah, it's just opening doors. Like it's opening so many doors for deck building, which is cool. Just see
Yeah.
every set positively add to that. You know, minus Duskblade Chain, which who knows how big of a problem that will actually be. Maybe Lexi gets figured out real quick and is just like an aggressive stone cold deck that f them up. But that's all we had. Really happy that these guys got home safe. Had a really great time. I will be going to Cincinnati for sure. Stuff's already booked. So if you see me there, possibly Jason there, possibly Blake, maybe. We don't know. We'll see. So might have the whole crew out to there. That'd be a blast. But definitely looking forward to meeting people there and again in Florida. And thank you for joining us. Hope you guys enjoy a fantastic pre-release weekend. And we will talk to y'all in the comments. Peace.